The Indians' front office essentially has an open line to teams to at least discuss any possible avenue that might help to better construct the Major League roster as a whole. That has, for the most part, been a policy of President of Baseball Operations Chris Antonetti and General Manager Mike Chernoff. With a finite amount of resources, closing the door before even having the discussion doesn't seem prudent. This winter, that ideal might have the most weight in recent memory. The Indians are bumping their heads on their financial ceiling as it is, and that's before making any free agent additions to the roster. Working out a deal to alleviate some of the financial restraints in some ways might be their only path to addressing certain needs on the roster, namely in the outfield and bullpen. "We will be creative in looking at ways to improve our team," Antonetti said earlier this week. "That's one way in which we could do that. It's not the only way, but it's certainly one of the avenues we could pursue, is to trade from an area of depth to address another area of our team." All of this means the Indians could be involved in a high number of discussions involving a wide variety of trade scenarios, as they cast the widest net possible as to how to address their needs. It might mean dealing from a surplus, meaning their elite starting rotation. In that regard, Jen Heyman of Vanguard reported on Tuesday that the New York Yankees are interested in Indians starting pitchers Corey Kluber and Carrasco, along with Seattle Mariners lefty James Paxton. Heyman's report included that the Yankees were meeting with the Indians on Tuesday. Any deal of that size, particularly for Kluber, would likely need to include multiple high-level, cost-controlled pieces coming back to the Indians that would weaken their rotation but alleviate some of the pressures elsewhere. The Yankees have a wealth of young talent, including infielder Miguel Andujar, former Indians prospects Justus Sheffield and Clint Frazier, and several others. If the Indians pulled the trigger on dealing such a huge trade chip, they'd still have Carrasco, Trevor Bauer, Mike Clevinger and Shane Bieber in the rotation, and potentially some cash to throw around in free agency. Kluber is slated to make $17 million next year, while the Indians just picked up Carrasco's $9.75 million club option for 2019. A potential deal could also include Jason Kipnis' $14.5 million salary as another way for the Indians to clear up space and reallocate those funds. The rub: they'd be sending a two-time Cy Young Award winner who is now a finalist for his third to a fellow World Series contender in the American League, not to mention the club that knocked them out in 2017, which is miles from ideal. It's possible the Indians' financial situation pushes them into a corner, and dealing from a surplus for younger talent is the way to go to maintain this contention window for the next 2 seasons. Due to club options to Kipnis, Edwin Encarnacion and a few other control-related situations, the Indians have plenty of money coming off the books in 2020. This offseason, though, is tricky. Or, it's possible this is the first instance of Antonetti and Chernoff seeing that there's no harm in at least listening to any potential suitors.